It is day 27 of Shelter in Place. It feels like I don't even know what day it is, but today is Thursday. Usually I reserve this for training Thursdays, but I tracked down one of my favorite people on the planet. And he's my little brother. I don't have a little brother, but I call him my little brother, and I wanted to bring him on cuz he's been so busy lately. I try to give him a call and he's been ducking my call. And, I had to go out and reach out to him. My brother from another mother. And I'll let him introduce himself. Leandro, go for it. Yes, sir.
Man, it feels like this has been a long time coming, man. Like I've been watching every single episode you've been putting up, and it's like, damn, why haven't I been on there?
Yes, sir.
But it's about time. Yeah, man. I'm happy to be here. Happy to chop it up with you.
Yes, sir. So, Leandro, where do you work? What do you do day to day? And then we'll go into it.
Because this guy right here that's on this other side of the screen, I made it into Google, which was like a lifelong dream of mine.
Yeah.
And you remember.
Yes, I do. We're going to go into that story.
Yeah.
Trust me, we're going to go into that story.
I currently work at Google, and I've been there for the better part of actually 2 years now.
Yes,
March
sir.
26th was my 2-year anniversary. And man, it's been great, dude. It's been great. So
me and Leandro, we basically lived on the same block. I had our dentist introduced us. Old dentist introduced us. He's like, "Do you know this guy? He lives down the block, right?" And he introduced us. And what's interesting is, today he works at Google, but I'm gonna give you a backstory and trusting in seeing something in someone, and then putting his feet to the fire to see his maximum potential because you love that person, or you see something and you gain trust and a friendship and a bond and you want to see someone grow. So we met. It was like when you was a junior, I think sophomore, junior in high school.
Dude, yeah, like sophomore year. Actually, yeah, sophomore year.
The end of my sophomore year. This all, trust me, if you follow along with me, guys, it's going to get to Google and you're going to see how he gets to Google. So I met him. He would go up and down the block, and it started with like, "Hey, what's up? What's up? What's going on?" Right? Then after a while, he went to college, and he started college, and you were studying nuclear what? This all, trust me, guys, we have people on. It's going to get to Google, and you're going to see that transition.
High school, I went to Brooklyn Technical High School, and it's one of the specialized high school here in New York.
Yeah.
We're actually one of the few high schools that actually allow for students to select a major. So at the time, my major was biochemistry.
Mm-hmm.
So here I am. I graduate high school, and I'm like, all right, like I'm gonna go into college, do my thing, and naturally, I'm like, all right, I did biochemistry in high school. Let me go into biochemical engineering because it's the nearest thing related to what I did. And I had an interest in engineering. So I decided to go into biochemical engineering at NYU.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the funny part comes in.
Yeah.
I had started my freshman year working for this dentist that Marco mentioned.
Yeah.
And I was working as a dental assistant.
Yep.
And the dentist is like, "Hey, we always talk about technology. We always talk about engineering. Like there's these two cats on your block that they're like in cybersecurity, whatever is the case." He didn't even know how to describe it at the time. But he was like, "Do you know them?" I'm like, to the best of my knowledge, like I have no idea. Like I think that I'm the only person on my block that does anything engineering related. So he's like, "All right." after work, the guy he puts me in his car and is like, "All right, let's drive down to your block. I'm gonna introduce you to him." He rings the doorbell, and then Marco comes on. I'm like, "Wait, I know this guy. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
He's an engineer. Like he knows about this tech stuff." And oh, wait, hold on. Walk down to their basement. I go down into the lab,
Hmm.
or what was then the lab, and I'm like, "Oh my god, a whole nother world,
We
man.
had
A
a
whole nother
server
world."
rack in the basement with servers and
Mm-hmm.
everything. This is in the
Oh,
Bronx. You walk outside to
yes.
the corner and it wasn't a good vibe, but that
Mm-hmm.
was the first time like you really got to know us. And the dentist, we stood cool with him for a while, and then he closed up and went out. But the crazy thing about that, I remember you stood. Go ahead and continue on to college, and I'll never forget the conversation we had. Was
Man,
what were you studying in college?
so I'm out here. I am studying biochemical engineering, and I'm like,
Yes,
shit, like this is like really kicking my ass. Like I hate it. I'm taking organic chemistry. I'm like, dude, this is not for me. Chemical bonds, covalent bonds, all these things are like, it's cool or whatever. And at the time, I thought it was gonna be a good idea because it's a lucrative career.
facts.
And but I didn't have a passion in it. So I come down and like at the time like I'd seen like Mark and his brother Kevin as mentors. Like there's these two guys that are like big within their field, and I'm this guy that's trying to like make a break into that field or that career. And they're like, dude, like what are you doing? Why are you doing this bio whatever the hell when it's clear that you like technology?
Yeah,
And I'm like, dude, like I don't know. And they're like, yo, switch your major.
yeah. The
Switch your
the
major.
the specific thing is you're in biochemical engineering.
Biochemical.
I'm like, are you gonna create any like weapons or anything? Who? Why? Why? And then I was like, look, I know you're a year in, but just go ahead and see and take like computer programming and comp sci as a minor. Just do that.
Hmm.
Just do me that
Yep.
favor and don't sell yourself short. Just do that. And go ahead, go ahead.
Yep. So I follow his advice and I'm like, all right, let me do this computer science 101 class. I take it. I'm like, okay, this is cool. I make like my first app, or I mean, my first piece of code that I wrote was this like ATM machine thing. And I'm like, all right, this is dope because not only am I writing code, but I'm actually seeing like what I created and running it right then and there. So it's
Facts.
like, okay, I don't need to wait 2 weeks to get a grade.
Mm-hmm.
Like I literally press enter and here I am like compiling code and then I run it and I interact with it and it's like amazing. So it's like immediate feedback. So a few days pass and then I'm like, all right, dude, like I'm gonna go all in. Switch my major. I had spent 2 years at the time doing biochemical engineering
Yep.
and then flip the script. They told me that it was going to take an additional year for me to graduate, but at the time I was like, all right, you know what? I'm invested.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Switch my major, full circle, man.
So fast forward, you let's fast forward the first few jobs you had in tech, and let's talk
Hmm.
about the day you sat down in the dining room where I was like, go get a paper and write the shit
Yeah,
down. Go into that.
yeah. So my first job out of college was at this startup company called Stat Social. It's a big data company. They pretty much just they're data miners. But I was very, very grateful for it. I spent 3 years there. It's pretty much where I learned and actually got to apply what I learned in school. I mean, going to school and reading about the theory is one thing, you know, following like a curriculum and saying, okay, I got to build this application that's like an ATM, cool. You know, I got to build this little game, like this Flappy Bird type game, cool. All right, but now here's this company that's trying to be profitable,
Yeah.
and my actions are actually impacting the profitability of this company. If I deliver this project on time, like cool, like we'll be able to sell that to a customer. If I fail, then that sucks for us. So I pretty much learned the basics there of what it meant to be a software engineer, but I felt like I kind of reached the ceiling of
Yeah.
um, what I was capable of there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one thing that I learned with Marco and your brother Kevin was like to never get comfortable, never become complacent, like stay hungry.
Really.
So I was like, all right, I need to push that and change my level of comfortability and get to a place of discomfort so I can continue to grow and flourish as a software engineer. So that made me start to like reevaluate my career and figure out what my next move was going to be. At the time, I had started working with some headhunters,
Mm-hmm.
and they told me about this company called JC Deco, which is an advertising agency, and one of the biggest ones at that. That if like any of you guys have heard, like they're pretty much the company that has all the ad spaces on the bus stops, like around cities, like
Yeah.
billboards, and they pretty much sell that ad space to whoever wants to rent it.
Yeah.
Um, Lo and behold, I apply there, interview, get a job there, and then I stayed there for I think like 2.5 years, and again reached a place of like comfort and needed to like change that.
Yes,
But
sir.
now we had this conversation, the conversation that you just mentioned, the one that we were sitting at a dining table
Yeah.
4 years before that.
Correct.
So let me just set the stage. So me, college graduate, and here I am saying I want to be a software engineer, but I don't know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Marco sits me down. He's like, dude, 5 year plan. And I'm like,
Facts.
okay,
Facts.
what the hell are you talking
Facts.
about?
This is
I
facts.
never ever, yeah, I never ever at the time heard about a 5 year plan.
Yep.
As far as I knew, I was like, okay, middle school, high school, college, and they're all 4 year plans. Like,
Yeah,
what are
yeah.
we talking
So,
about? 5 year
so
plan?
the people that are watching live stream, trust me, this story is going to get really, really good because what I believe is people want instant gratification and they can't see 5 years down the line. But if you create something, a structure for yourself of where you want to be, I believe like you're manifesting your destiny right there by just dropping all the shit down on the paper and you brain dumping. And you people call it like the what's that shit when you put it out there and it comes back like the secret and all that shit. I It's not that I don't believe in it. What I do believe is that, yo, if I want a red car, I'm going to start seeing red cars all over the
Mm-hmm.
place. And that is why I say, look, really think about your 5 year plan and drop it on paper. Continue on now.
So this guy sits me down, tells me about this 5 year plan thing. Me, college graduate, had no clue what the hell he was talking about. And he says, where do you want to be in 5 years? Who do you want to work for? What title do you want to have? And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'm doing the software engineering thing. So I guess I want to be a software engineer. And I guess I want to work for what I thought at the time was the best company in tech, which was Google. And he's like, all right, great. How are you going to get there? I had no idea how to answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
We go and get a piece of paper, and he's like, write down the steps. What is it going to take for you, college graduate, to get to this company where you're recognized as one of the top engineers like in the world? And I'm like, okay, I guess, write down like courses, write down like books,
Yeah.
languages, like tech stacks that I might have to look at, and then time frame. Like I'm like, okay, like this I'll do in a year, this I'll do in 2 years, blah blah blah. This guy bleeds all over that paper. Like if any of you have like handed in an essay to like an English teacher and like it was trash, and they get the red pen and it's like crossing things out,
Yeah.
bleeding all over the paper, gives me back the thing, the piece of paper. He's like, dude, this is unrealistic. There's no way. There's no way
Yeah.
you're gonna accomplish this because the amount of things that I crammed into that piece of paper and like the deadlines that I set for myself, they were not realistic at all,
Yeah.
and it's true.
Yeah.
So we revised it once, revised it twice, 3 times, 4 times. Finally, I had this like step by step plan. Read, this book about algorithms, read this book about data structures, learn about Python, learn about the different modules of whatever, and like Java, C++,
Yeah.
like literally anything that I needed to know that would help me
Get to
bring
that
my
end
goals up
goal.
to
Yeah.
fruition. Yeah, 5 years later. So all the while I'm like, okay, so we need to fill that void, and that's where those two jobs came in. I did some stints at some contracting jobs on the side as well at other companies, and then fast forward 5 years later, I'm like getting tired of like my job at the advertising agency, and I'm like, all right, like I think I'm gonna do this, go all in. I had been speaking to a recruiter for like 5 years, pretty much,
Yeah.
like postponing, like the interview postponing, and I'm like, I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. Finally, I feel comfortable enough, and I do the first interview, the tech screen online, like aced it, and I was super comfortable with it just because I'd done my due diligence. 5 years of preparation. I mean,
Yeah.
hey, like there was nothing they were gonna throw at me.
Yeah.
Go to the on-site. That's like 4 back-to-back interviews and walk out of there. And then the first
Crushed
thing
it.
I do, like call my mother, and she's like, "Oh my god, how'd it go?" She's super nervous. I'm like, "I got the job." Like I was so certain
Facts.
that I got the
Oh,
job.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can ask my mom the next time he's here.
I got
I
it.
was
I
like, "Yo, I got
crushed
the
it.
job. I got it. I crushed it." So 2 years, 2 days later, I speak to the recruiter, and they're like, "Dude, they loved you.
It's
They
over.
loved
It's
you."
over.
And
You checked all the
I'm
boxes,
more than
everyone.
certain. Yeah, he was like, "Yo, I'm more than certain you're gonna get a call back and an offer. So stay posted and like whenever you get the paperwork, fill it out as soon as possible." At the time, I was also interviewing at Facebook, so and that process was going well as well.
Yeah.
But Google was the first one to beat like the other
Yeah.
companies to the punch with an offer, and that's actually where I wanted to go. So I was just like, all right, like I'm not gonna be like LeBron and make the decision. Like, no, that's where I wanted to go. So I just signed the thing. But in retrospect, I do think that I should have like gone through with like the other interviews just so I
Yeah.
could have them like counter and like increase my value.
It's a
But
grind. It's a grind.
yeah,
What you did is, number one, trust the process. And
hmm
two, you just knew, like, yo, if I put in the work, sky's the limit. And a lot of people, number one, when they hit that barrier of pain, they just release off the gas, right? Because it's too
yeah,
hard. The pain, that it's like when you're lifting a muscle like a barbell or doing curls with a dumbbell, your muscle gets tired, and what happens is with your brain, that shit gets tired, and people just fall off. So the whole thing that I say is trust the process. Do shit that sucks so you can strengthen that muscle, and then everything starts to become easier. And that's kind of what you did, and I appreciate, and I'm very proud of you for your accomplishments and where you're going, right? Because I still chin check you. I
yeah,
always chin check
yeah,
you. It's not like, yo, it was
yeah.
good. During our calls,
You're the first one. You're the
there's
first one to say it.
always,
Like,
always,
so I mean, for context, like I'll be, it'll be like a Tuesday, and here I am, like at a bar, like watching a game, and then it's Wednesday, and here I am at a bar watching a game, and then it's what,
yep,
Thursday, Friday. Like I tend to like get into this routine where it's like, okay, like I'm comfortable, I'm happy, I'm where I wanted to be. A lot of the things that I wanted to achieve, I'm achieving them, and if not, I'm working on it. So I'm like, all right, like I have the time to hang out. I have the time to have fun. I earned that right. But then I forget that there's more, there's
yeah,
more levels to it.
yeah.
There's more that needs to be done. I can still grind, right?
All
But
day.
then here you come and you're like, hey, what the fuck are you doing?
That's
Why are
exactly
you at a
what I.
bar on Monday?
Why?
Why are you at a bar on Tuesday? Why are you at a bar on Thursday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday? Like, why are you at a bar every single day just hanging out?
Yeah,
I don't see you at coding at all.
yeah.
I don't see keyboards.
I'm like, every time I see some shit you doing, you don't do the work. So,
Yeah.
one of the things is I challenge him not only with grinding, but also, reading books. And at one point, for the last maybe like 3 or 4 years, when we read an interesting book, we share it with each other. And that's the thing. For me, it's never stop growing. There's always time to play, but there's
Yeah.
always time to grind, and people don't want that pain. And once you get used to that pain, there's that threshold that you can break through all the
hmm
time and learning and accomplishing stuff. So what are you doing, because you're in New York City, and New York City is getting pummeled by what's going on. What are you doing to stay focused? How is it crazy like the news? Tell me about it.
Well, like we're a very, very dense city,
Yeah.
right? That there's no hiding it, there's no denying it. I mean, the projects are overcrowded.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. It's so many people. So when we go to a supermarket, there's tons of people in there. Like when I've been going
Facts.
to the supermarket, I have to stand online. My aunt has had to stand online for like 2.5 hours just to buy her groceries, and it's insane, insane.
So it's
But
crazy.
yeah, it's definitely crazy. And then you get people that are in this mindset where they need to like fight for what they want, right? So they're very standoffish, and altercations ensue because of that, right? So yeah, were you was gonna say
I
something?
was gonna just say it's New York City.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
doesn't surprise
It's
me.
gritty.
Like, I
It's
want
gritty.
that little Debbie when you done get ready. And just start fighting over a little Debbie. So
Over nothing,
yeah, yeah,
man.
yeah. So I bet, man, is the police cracking down on people and handing out tickets like they're saying,
I
or
mean,
they're
I
just
wouldn't
scaring
know.
people.
I honestly wouldn't know because I'll leave my house maybe on Sunday to buy like
Mm.
groceries for my family, and then I come back and I'll go, in the morning when there's nobody there. Like as soon as they open the supermarket, get my stuff. Like I have a list of what I need to get, so it's in and out. I'm not lollygagging. Come back.
Are
That's
people
it.
hanging out on the block
Nah.
at all?
I mean, there's some people, and we know those people that they they don't give a damn.
I'm I,
They'll play with their toys.
Yo, I would. Oh, are you serious? Wow.
Yeah, but that's it.
I did see some pictures. I'm like, why y'all? I don't know why.
Yeah,
You know what
there's still
though?
some people.
I would probably be a nut ass and like bring a barbecue out in the middle of the street and just like cook up
I mean, look,
just
if
to be
ever
an
there was a
ass.
time, nobody is outside right now. Like,
Yeah.
I think everybody knows that, and I mean, I hope everybody is doing their due diligence and quarantining themselves so we can get ourselves out of this thing as soon as
What
possible.
What are you doing to stay focused?
Man, like honestly, I have to remind myself constantly that there's a lot of people that are suffering from this, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm fortunate that my job pays me the same. Like, I'm not suffering from, lack of pay or going into
Yeah.
furlough or like wondering if I'm going to have a job after this. Like, I still get the same check. My job has not changed at all. My family's all healthy. They all get to work from home as well. And, I need to remember that there's people that are not fortunate
Yeah.
as I am that are suffering from this whole situation, that are sick, that are stuck in a hospital, that doesn't have the necessary supplies to take care of them, to help them get better, that are wondering how they're going to pay for their baby's formula because they don't have the income,
Yeah.
and I need to remind myself every single time that I wake up because I don't have those issues. And if we don't think about it, it's like very easy to forget about it and just be happy all the time. But in terms of what I'm doing to stay focused, like what I've seen this as is like a blessing in disguise. Like I've earned back a lot of time that generally I wouldn't have. So commuting to work is an hour and a half. Like,
Mm-hmm.
worst case scenario where I'm stuck on a train and I'm very limited to what I can do. I read a book, right? But that's about it.
Yeah.
So I gained back essentially 3 hours, right? Commuting to and from. Then like the time that like, I'll be at work and then decide to like go hang out, like that's extra time that I'll be out in the streets, hanging out and like stumbling into bars and watching
No more mama
games.
sushi. No more mama
Yeah, no
sushi.
more Mama Sushi, no more Dykeman, like everything shut down. So essentially, what I've gotten back is a lot of time that I can invest in myself, and then like the people that I care about, my immediate family, right?
Yeah.
So my parents, like I don't get to spend a lot of time with them. Only the weekends, Monday through Friday, we all work. So it's like I see them in the morning and I see them at night, and that's about it.
Nice.
And then weekends, yeah, like we get to hang out. But now I'm seeing them all day. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
we're,
Yeah.
we're all like in each other's space, and it's really cool because like now I'm like, okay, like you guys get to see like what I do. You guys think that I just go to work and come back and I'm getting paid for like doing nothing, but now you're seeing like I'm on conference calls, I'm like writing this code or whatever. I have
Yeah.
like these monitors and it's like craziness, and then we get to work out together, so they get to do my routine.
They go.
And it's a lot of like family time that we've gotten back. So
Mm.
for me to stay focused, right? Like I'll walk you through like my routine, right? So I wake up, I meditate, and then like I start reading. So like an hour to an hour and a half of reading of like any the books that I have. So I have
Hmm.
like a backlog of stuff that like you've given me and other people have like
Yeah.
recommended as well. Once I'm done with that, walk right downstairs. I have a corner with all my stuff set up, and just start getting through emails. And then like I got my tasks, things that I want to do that day, and I work from pretty much 10:30 ish all the way to like 5:30 to 6. At 6 p.m., just like I told you, change clothes and start working out. So with the living room, we've repurposed as like our personal gym. Like I have like a bunch of resistance bands, and we all just start working out. We do like an hour and a half to 2 hours, and right after that, shower and try to relax a bit, catch up on Netflix, call people. Then I got like my nighttime meditation, and you
Your
pass
wind
out, and then
down. Your wind down.
yeah, you wind down, and
Wind it
then you
down.
wake
Yeah.
up the next day, and it's a repeat.
Rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat, my
Do you,
man.
are like for me, I'm grinding so hard. I'm seeing a growth spurt in myself. I'm seeing like exponential growth.
hmm
Like what's going on
Dude.
now? I'm seeing some results that I'm surprising myself. And the thing was, I was seeing it a little bit, but now this week actually, it's from last Friday, Saturday to now. I'm seeing, and when I see growth, I'm writing code that would take me a while to write, right? But now it's like flowing. It's like guys, I'm telling you, it's like flowing like these ones and zeros over here. I'm thinking of a problem and the answer I don't know how to describe it except the answers are popping into my brain and I'm just typing. It's like it feels automatic. It feels it's new to me. It's new to me. Usually I'm like I have to think a lot, then I'm like, "Oh," and when coding is like troubleshooting and this that, I'm like, "No, I should have not done that. I should have did this and this is what I need to modify." And it's becoming very easy. It's just work to get everything you want out like of just programming stuff like out of here onto the computer, and I'm seeing that exponential growth happen like a motherfucker. I'm really, I think since this started, this is day 27 of shelter in place in California, and since it started, I think the first week was a shock. The Yeah, it was a shock and being distracted by the news, and then after that it was like another maybe a week, another week of okay, I got to get back into it. And then the third week, it was like the beginning of the third week. So 15 days in, it was more of a okay, this is the new norm. This is normal. This is how we're going
Yep.
to live now. So, what is the routine that you need to be successful, and even if you switch up your routine, how do you stay in the zone? And that's kind of what I've been doing to see that for me that exponential growth in skill. Man, I'm seeing it now this week. I'm seeing that like day 15 I was like, okay, now we're day 27 and I'm like, I am crushing it. And I know that because I remember, I like literally remember when we were like day 14 where I was still getting distracted. Now I don't even turn on the news until like the end of the night to consume
hmm
what's going on because I don't want it to take any of my energy or anything like that. And I'm good. I'm good. I'm crushing the game for me. So
Dude,
boom,
I mean,
boom,
you said it.
boom.
It's all about getting into a routine, dude. It's literally all about getting into a routine, and like we as humans, it's something that we need to establish.
I want.
This situation right now
Yeah.
is new to
You know
everybody.
what?
Working from home every day is
Yeah.
new.
I'm happy we're going into that because we're in a learning mode right now. At least for me, stuff that I'm doing at work and all that. There was one thing when you started at Google that I want you to explain and how you tackled things. I remember the first 2, 3, even I think up to 6 months. You like, yo, it's over, like
Yeah,
information overload. How did you
you're
tackle?
drinking from the fire hose, man.
Yeah, it was like really drinking from that fire hose, and you were overloaded. How did you
Yeah,
tackle that?
I mean, it's like it brings me back to the question that you asked me like one day in the basement, right? You're like, this was just so random, and it had nothing to do with anything. I think we were like just chilling and talking about like Star Wars. I had no idea, totally random. This guy turns to me, he's like, "How would you move a mountain?" I'm like,
Mm,
"The fuck do you mean? How would I move a mountain?
yes,
Like, why would I?
sir.
First of all, why would I need to move a mountain?" And that was my like initial immediate question. He's like, "No, seriously, how would you move it?" And I'm like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'd probably get like some forklifts. I had no idea. And he's like, "No, the right answer is you'd move it like one rock at a time, right?"
Mm,
And I'm like, "Wow, huh? Okay, that's pretty deep." And we got into this whole conversation about like, how we would digest things and tackle big tasks. And the task of digesting the information that was coming from Google was no small feat. It's just information overload. And me as a noogler at the time, seeing all this data and we just have access to everything right out the gate, I'm like, oh my God, this is a whole different practice. The other companies that I've worked with in the past, like they kind of like lead you into things. They baby you. They have this person that works with you, reviews all your code, and there's like a lot of baby feeding for like the first 2 3 months.
mm,
Google, you're pretty much on your own. You have a buddy to support you and kind of give you the ins and outs, but you make the experience what you want. Your first few months, you learn how you work, and then you go about implementing it. So I go to Mark, and I'm like, dude, and I was in California at the time. I'm like, man, like, yo, I don't know how I'm gonna get through this. Like, this is pretty crazy. But then, like, I think back to this whole concept of like, how would I move a mountain? So how would I digest all this information coming from this
mm,
information, God, pretty much. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take it a step at a time. So I'm like, okay, I know how to code. I know like the general practices. I have a solid foundation. Like I'm here. Like I kind of struggle with that sense of like imposter syndrome, as they call it,
yeah,
where I was like, yeah, I don't know if I belong. Maybe like I'm that one person that kind of just slipped through the cracks, even though I had studied and put the work in.
yeah.
I'm like, maybe, yo, I don't belong here because like I see all these people that are smart as shit. And I don't feel as smart because now the caliber of engineers that I'm surrounded by has just risen
Mm,
and exponentially at that. Like they went from like being here all the way to like on another stratosphere. So I kind of felt like I was being left behind and I'm like struggling with imposter syndrome. But then I had to like ground myself and I'm like, all right, I need to tackle this. I need to continue to be an engineer,
yeah.
a good engineer, and continue to grow because this is not the end for me. Like I need to think about my next 5 year plan. What am I gonna do next, and like where am I gonna be? So I slowly start to like. Well, one of the things that helped me out a lot was just using my peers and communicating with them. There's people that have been there for 7 years, 5 years, whatever may be the case, and they know the game inside and out.
Facts.
Why not use that to my advantage? So I started learning from my peers, my leads, my manager, and that's how I started to kind of like gain the scope of what my job entailed and how to perform it to the best of my ability. And fast forward like 6 months later, now I'm like getting into this routine. And again, it's about getting into a routine. Okay, like I get my coffee at so and so time. I take a break at 3 p.m. I get in at like 10:30, and like once I got into that routine, that structure, it allowed me to accomplish things in a more like timely fashion,
Mm,
and then continue to grow.
mm,
Um, and that's really what helped facilitate my growth and get to the point where now here I am 2 years later, and like now I'm able
yeah.
to like maneuver in a whole different manner. And like not only that, but like now I have the privilege of giving back to people. Like now we constantly have people joining the company, and then I'm constantly taking them on as my buddies,
Yeah.
and I do for them what other people did for me, which is like teach them, put them on with the game. Like, hey, do this, don't do that. We have video games galore. We have game rooms. We have massages. We have all this stuff. We have talks. We had like Beyonce's mother in there the other day, and it's like, like there's a
Beyonce's mother, how to raise
yeah,
Beyonce.
yeah, like how to raise a queen.
Word.
I mean, there's a lot of distractions, dude, and like
I bet.
I fell into those distractions like first 2 3 months just
Hmm.
going to all these talks, trying to like take classes, and it was overload.
How
So
do
I try to
how
teach
do
everybody that joins that.
how does Google rate your success? Because they have over like how many employees do they have? I'm not sure.
We have so many.
Okay, whatever. How do
And
they? Because you're a number probably at this time, but
yeah.
how do they rate their
So
engineers?
in terms of success, we're rated on this performance cycle that we call perf.
Hmm.
Uh, Essentially, what it is like you jot down everything that you accomplished during the 6 month time frame, uh, projects, side projects, the areas where you've made impact, growth courses that you may have taken,
Mm,
things that processes that you might have like changed, stuff that you've refactored, things you've built. All this stuff goes into this document,
mm.
right? Then you select some peers that write some peer reviews, and pretty much they give you feedback, things that they've seen you do well, things that they think you can improve on. Your manager submits the same type of feedback, and all this stuff gets compiled together and sent to this like committee that reviews essentially every engineer within like that org or that like uh I guess product area, right? And they establish a baseline, and then they figure out whether or not you like fall above the baseline or below that, or if you meet it, right? So they like pretty much lock themselves up in a room and kind of like go through all these packets and say, hey, look, this is Leandro has done everything well, but he hasn't like stood out, so
Yeah,
let's give him like he meets expectations
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
much,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then like here's so engineer X, they struggled a bit. They have some areas where they can improve. They fall beneath the baseline, so they need to improve in some aspects.
Mm,
So they like it needs improvement. And then like people that like exceed expectations, they're like taking on bigger projects that are not given to them. They're showing leadership. They're like taking people under their wing. They're changing processes. They'll get like an exceeds expectations, and basically those are like the types of rankings like generally that you'd receive.
nice.
It's very very metric driven, and like I honestly do feel like it's like what you put in is what you get out. Like not in no cycle have I felt like I got something that I didn't receive. I mean that I didn't like earn. Like I feel like I had the ability or I guess the opportunity to directly influence like the rating that I probably received for that cycle. So it's really really clear cut. I mean, in the past, I've had managers that just would fuck me over because I literally did not get along with them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like like where I would see things in one way and they'd say, hey, like we got to do it this way. But I'm like, all right, like, are you an engineer? No, like, you can't tell me how to do this thing. Like, when you don't even know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So
You
we
like
wouldn't see eye
why?
to eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why you
And
recommended it to me like
mhm.
that?
Come review time, I'd get fucked over, and that would like mess up my bonus and mess up my raise, and it was a big mess. And that happened to me year in year out here and there, and for the
Mm,
first time, I'm in a situation where I'm like, okay, this is fair.
yeah.
What I do directly influences the rating that I get.
Yeah, that's super dope. And one of the things I love is that freedom to create, and I feel like there's a lot of times I feel like I'm a Picasso where and I am thinking, yeah, I'm thinking I come up with this strategy and this project and it's me. I'm painting. I'm painting this and I'm working on a project that I am basically painting everything that I want. And now when it become like now that it's a little bit more successful, now I get to have people help me with the color scheme, right? I need you to color this and sculpt that or whatever the case is. And I think, as you grow in your career, that freedom, it's like a lot of people get hired to do tasks, right? And then when you have that manager that trusts you, it's like go ahead and run with it. You could go ahead. I trust you. You've earned my trust, and go run with it. But it's good. I love that I can see you and I can see your growth, and now that you're at Google, it's everything's open. Every door is open, right? Because that is like to work at Google as an engineer. Every company, tries to snatch Google engineers. So the doors are open for you to go to that next step or stay at Google and probably go to like Google Brain. Have you talking about that? I was watching a show. It's called Devs on FX. Watch it when you have a chance.
Yeah, I
It's
haven't
out
seen it.
there, but it's kind of accurate of Bay Area developers on how they live. The story plot is not there, but I kind of enjoy it because I'm like, oh, I went to the coffee shop there, and it's out there. But you should take a look. I think there are like 7 episodes in. It's real interesting, but you gotta lock in the viewer, so you gotta do some crazy shit with AI and all that. So it's interesting. It's very interesting, but it's
I
like
mean, I'll watch it as long as they don't have like hackers manipulating windows and resizing things like
nah.
from
Oh yeah, the fake shit. No, 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 no. This one's more of like, oh, there's a secret team, and one of like this girl, the main character's boyfriend. They both work at, let's say, both work at Google or whatever. But anyway, they told the dude, hey, go into this is called Devs Group. And this Devs Group is a secret group that no one has ever gone into. Like once you go in there, it's like top secret. You can't tell no one. You can't bring electronics. You can't do anything. Anyway, the first day they kill him because he's like, "Yo, this is too much for me." So it's interesting. It's a good joint. It's alright. I'm not saying it's great, but just watch the first 2 episodes and tell me what
no,
you think. I mean, everyone has a
I'll give
lot
it a
of
chance.
time, right? So just plug it in. I try to,
Yeah, yeah.
what I try to do is on the weekends when I'm chilling with wifey, um, I'll watch some Netflix or something like that just so I could get away from it. But like I said, like I told you, I feel like when Neo, he's like, I broke the Matrix. That's the way
Mhm.
I feel right now. Like I think and yeah, and meaning like I can do anything that I put my mind
Mhm.
into, like tackle anything, do anything, understand it, and then like go with it. And that's how I feel because what I've accomplished is big. And one of the things for me that I really enjoy right now is that my girl's son is staying with us as a mentee, and he's been here.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he's been here now 2 weeks, and he's been fucking crushing the game. My man didn't not he didn't know any, and I mentioned this yesterday, and I'll tell you, he didn't
Is he
know.
the one that was on that other episode?
Yeah, he was. S
Oh, okay, cool, cool, cool.
yeah, so he basically came in the house and was typing 5 words per minute. Five. Now he's at 33 in 2 weeks. He's 6x'd his typing in 2 weeks. He blew through 3 Khan Academy courses: Intro to Internet 101, Intro to Computers and Programming, Intro to Programming. Then he just finished 2 courses on H on Free Code Camp, which was HTML, CSS. He's now doing JavaScript beginners. He's like a third of the way in, and he read 2 books in 2 weeks. This is 2 weeks. He's never done
Yeah.
anything like that. So it just goes to show you how if you put in the work, you can do anything. And I think I've liked him here because it keeps me on my grind. I can't slip up, not even
Yeah.
once, because of that.
Yeah, you were
So
saying that he fell asleep
yeah,
because he was going too hard.
he was going too hard and he was peeled back, man. He was really peeled back, and for me, I absolutely love it. But hey, we're here almost 45 minutes. I'm gonna wrap it up. Tomorrow's Good Friday, sir. Happy Easter. Say
Yeah.
hello to the fam.
Yeah, they always asking for about you, man.
Yeah. So
All the time.
yeah, thank you so much for joining and sharing your experience, your growth. and everything like that. And tomorrow I'm gonna go into uh training. Like I like to give trainings like close to the weekend because there's a big long weekend I call it. I usually start training and doing stuff Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But yeah, tomorrow's gonna be one of those days. It's Good Friday, so we're gonna put it on and do our thing, guys. Thank you for joining. Any last words, Leandro?
Hey, like what I tell every single person that I meet is, look, you always have to, and even especially in this situation,
Mm.
I mean, that really doesn't make sense in this situation because you don't really want to like this whole 6 feet thing is changing the dynamic of how we're all going to interact, and that's a whole conversation for another
Oh
day.
yeah.
But always look out for another person. Like Marco could have closed the door in my face, and I probably would have been who knows where as a biochemical engineer doing God knows what, maybe at Nessie, who knows. This guy, because he took the time and invested in me,
Mm.
became a mentor to me, directly affected my future. And like now here I am 5 years later working for a company that I honestly wanted to work at. So I just think that it's a testament to the fact that just if you see somebody, if you see
Invest in
potential,
them.
even if you don't see the potential, give back to your community, help one another out, and like together as like a people we can like progress and get to a better place, because that's one thing that I feel like we all lack. It's just that, you know altruism, right? Trying to just help for the just because
Yeah.
it's the
Yep.
right thing. We
Yep.
always look for a benefit or how we're gonna level up from helping out this thing. How am I what do I stand to gain? But
What do
let's
I get
just
out of
do
it?
it. Yeah,
I
let's
think
just do it because it's the right thing.
yeah, doing the right thing is always the right thing to do, and then doing stuff without expectation is something that I learned
Hmm.
early on in my career. I would basically take notes on things that I did for people, so then if I asked them, I'd be like, yo, but I did XYZ for you. You can't hook me up. Are you kidding me? That was a
Hmm.
big thing. And then I learned over time, bro, stop doing that. That's fucking stupid. Like that's a young man's mentality. So, I learned like if I'm not going to do it out of the goodness of my heart, I shouldn't be doing it at all,
Yep.
right? And that's one thing that I would say. And sir, thank you so much for joining. And guys, I will see you guys tomorrow.